March 23rd through the 26th. They do have, I think I left a few free tickets for children. Any children under 12 in free with a paying adult. And we had a few of those free tickets, or you can go to their website and you can download. Go to the Shriners website, you can download a free ticket. And I encourage you to go there. We'll be there. We've got like John. Thank John Lee for he's supporting. We're going to have as a sponsor. He's printed out a Stlreia coloring book for the kids to get. I know the kids. Hey, it's good to start kids young. I started bringing my son here when he was about 18 months old as a toddler, and got him exposed at a very, very young age to real estate. Anyway, John's got a great coloring book, and we do have it. We're going to hand these out. He's got them printed out from Amazon. We're going to hand out some to new folks at the circus. But then also, if you want to have one of these ahead of time, print out for your kids or grandkids, we've got it on our website. You find a link you can print it yourself. I think it's a PDF file. You can print it yourself or print part of it if you don't want to burn this much paper on your printer. Or you can go on Amazon, and he's got a link there. I think it's like $10, right, John? Something on that, $10, $11? $6. Okay,
For
six.
Yeah,
wow,
6.
okay. That's even more reasonable. And he's also got we just call it resource guide, creating wealth in St. Louis with Stlreia. It's both in soft paperback or he got a hardcover version. It's his own version here. He got it printed in hardcover. So I'll let you know about those. Okay, actually we had two great speakers tonight, so I won't take any more time. I did want to let JM Real Estate Capital is one of our sponsors, and we'll give them. Rob's got to take off a little early this evening, so we're going to have a little time right now before our haves, and we're going to hold off our haves and wants until after the first, in between our two speakers. So, Rob.
Hey guys, Rob with JM Real Estate Capital. If you need money, we got lots of it. Whether it's a rehab, new construction, rent a loan, we got you covered. Okay? Newbies, no problem. No tax returns, no problem. Okay? Number, I want to write this down or take a card from me right after. It's 844 we close. 844 we close. Okay? Speaking of RIAs, I'm standing over there and he's saying, look, come out to the RIA. We used to have hundreds of people here. We did. I was here back in the heyday. Got to join the RIAs. This is a great resource. There's a lot of great speakers here. There's networking. There's money in the room. There are carpenters in the room. There are people who can help you with your business in the room. And I believe in it. And anybody here tonight, here for the first time, okay, we believe in RIAs. You sign up, I'll pay $25 of it. So it's not costing you $75, it's costing you $50, all right? So please, if you're here tonight, first time, and you sign up tonight, not online, here live, that's my chip and that's my gift to you guys. Thank you for having me. Need me, give me a call. Anybody need a business card? Raise your hand. I'll give it one round. Thank you.
Even more of an incentive, as if we weren't inexpensive enough. Rob's going to pick up the $25. Plus, we got Bill Newhouse here, another one of our vendors from Shelter Insurance. Have to say a few words.
Yeah, Bill Newhouse. So yes, there's a lot of people out here that can help you, and I'm one of them. So if you're going to rent a property and you never want to know the prices to insure it, we can do that. So our question is 1, 2, 3, and 4 things rental. So I have people out in the crowd, some of them I'm sure already. And so we'd love to talk to you if you're looking for property or you already have property and you think it's too expensive, or you're having problems with your current agent, and I want to insure for whatever reason, reach out to us. It's very, very competitive. We do a ton of every area. I'm licensed in 90 states. Every state around Missouri, we do it. So Oklahoma, Arkansas, Illinois, you need help. Business card over here, reach out to me or Google, build you house, show insurance, do it, reach out to me, I'm happy to help.
Okay, thank you, Al. Okay, I'm going to ask you if, with our speakers, if you could hold any questions to the end. That way, we'll have a second mic. We'll circulate it in the room to make sure that everybody, including our online audience, can hear the questions. Okay, and also, and I said we're going to do the haves and wants after the first speaker. Okay, first of all, I'd like to introduce our first speaker tonight. He's with Your New Closet. It's a local firm dedicated to custom storage solutions to designs. They specialize to maximize your organizing needs as best as possible since 2011, from bedroom closets to home offices and entertainment centers and pantries, utility rooms, and garage cabinets. He offers a free consultation to get you started. He will be sharing custom designed closet systems, closet organizers, storage solutions for just about any part of your home or office that needs to be organized. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Scott Tippett.
Yeah, I'm gonna try, I don't like speaking with the microphone. Everybody hear me okay?
No.
Okay.
You gotta get on the microphone.
California closet.
You gotta get on the microphone.
Gotta get on the mic.
Get on the mic? Okay.
Yeah.
Who's heard of- Okay, yeah. All right, who's heard of St. Louis Closet? Who's heard of California Closet? Who's heard of Your New Closet? That's what I thought. The reason you haven't heard of Your New Closet is because we do our business a little bit differently. What we do is we partner up with vendors, distributors, builders, homeowners that have the business, and we market it that way. So when I went in this business 10 years ago, I wanted to make sure that we were doing it differently than everybody else, because the key factor was we wanted to have the same high quality as St. Louis Closet, California Closet, New Space, but at the best possible price. We wanted to enter the market at 30 to 40% less than their best possible price. And the reason for that was so that we can partner up with other vendors or distributors, and they were able to either take our design and price and sell it to their customer and still have margin that they could build in and make money on it. Plus, we wanted to be able to turn heads whenever we met new customers, new clients, and so on and so forth. How did we do that? What was different? If we didn't compromise on the quality, and we didn't compromise on the design, we didn't compromise, on the customer experience. So how do we do it? Well, I took a year back before I even started to learn the business and figure out where the money was coming. The biggest cost, the biggest impact to the industry was showrooms. All right, they have to have a big brick and mortar showroom. They had to have wine and dine and cheese and really make you feel good about spending that big price on the closet. So I wanted to, because of my expertise and my experiences in the last 30 years of business, I wanted to capitalize on the technology that's out there and free technology, basically. So what I created was a 360 online showroom. So it's 360 closets. If you guys turn the folders over and you'll see a QR code on the back of the folder, you scan that, and it will take you to a closet that we did in Chesterfield Lakes area, and you get to see what it is. The difference between our showroom and the showrooms that are out there is these aren't fantasy closets. We have all the way from budget restraints where we do wire and wood, or just wire, or just the fancy as well. These are actual closets that we've done in the St. Louis area. So that's, we work with realtors. We work with, like, say, a realtor goes in and they cube the home out. They said, in order to compete in this market with your home, we need to do something about your closet. So we go in there and we price it so that it makes sense. We work with flippers who go in and they want to upgrade everything. We go in and we take care of everything. We can do all of the closets in wire except for the master and the pantry. We do in wood. we're flexible, all different ways based on what our vendors and reps want to do. That's why you haven't heard about your new closet before, because we needed this venue free so that you could hear, because these are where we do the introductions. I get introduced to people, and then I grow with them. And until you go to some place like this, where I'm going, you wouldn't have heard about us. Now, after this, you'll be, if somebody says, if you heard your new closet, you'll be able to raise your hand. So just keep in mind, one of the biggest things to understand is we structure our business to maximize the closet real estate at the best possible price. And that's, we do every day, all day long. We work with, so many different situations. I created a dealer network where we work all over the United States. We're able to work with dealers. We've got it in Florida, we've got it in Chicago, California, Virginia Beach, where they contact me. All they do is measure the space, we design it, we sell it, we market it, we ship it to them, and then they install it. So it's a turnkey program that you wanted to manage and be able to offer that to clients. You'll be able to offer closets with no startup, with no cost, with no infrastructure whatsoever. We handle all of that. And then on our website, we have training videos. So if you became, a dealer and just signed up with us, again, there's no cost, there's no obligation, nothing. We give you access to the training videos where it teaches you how to install from beginning to end, and you can watch it on your phone, you can do whatever. So it's a true turnkey program that can be catered to the way you want to do the business if you have that need. So on this folder we have here, we have you scan this. The reason I don't have business cards is because it's paper. It costs money. You have to have it. You have to handle it. So we have this. I keep this right here. It's digital, and you can scan it, and not only do you get my information, I'm able to get your information at the same time. Why do I tell you that? Because that's the type of stuff that we do every day that is low cost or no cost to keep our prices at 30 to 40%. For the last 10 years, I started it at 30, 40%. We're still at 30, 40%. Whenever I hear somebody say, well, I got St. Louis Closet coming in to do a measure two, I'm like, yes. And I know where they are. I know what their prices are, and we're going to do really good for them. So that being said, that's our introduction to your new closet. And there's a couple more folders over here afterwards. If you want one, please feel free to get it. We also have, with our product, with our vendor relationship, we do offer a lifetime warranty on all the product and labor. So it's kind of a no-brainer, win-win situation, especially if you have that need or are interested in that kind of need. So that's it. Scott Tippett's Your New Closet. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're going to stick around, Scott?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you can talk to him later. Okay, very good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do some haves and wants for our next speaker. Can I get somebody on the board like Jim here to go around with me? Not familiar with haves and wants. If you have some real estate that you're looking to sell, or if you're looking to buy something, and you're looking for a particular area, we might have some, I know we got some wholesalers here. If you're a wholesaler and have something in the, under contract, this is a good opportunity to present what you got, and probably we've got some a lot of investors here that may be looking for the next deal. So if you have a service, like I saw, where did we go? So our HVAC guy, my HVAC, he was here just a minute ago. I was going to give him a chance to tout his wares. He went dancing. Okay, yeah, that's the problem. Hey, at least he's coming to our meetings more often because he's a swing dancer. He had to make a decision between coming to our meeting or going to theirs. Now he can come come here and then he go and dance a bit. He'll probably be back down later. Anyway, or otherwise, service-related, real estate items. What do you got? Anybody got anything, any wholesalers got anything under contract that you're looking to sell? For an assignment? Amber's got something, okay.
I got something.
Amber, I was looking at you, I was gonna give you the mic to start with, I didn't see you right there.
Oh, yeah, I was hiding in the back. So to go with your housing needs, I have Girl Scout cookies. So I have extra cookies. If you would like some, I'll be in the back. I'm leaving a little bit early today, so please just come back. All the boxes that I have are $5, so they go to a great cause. If not, these are actually Grandpa's cookies, who doesn't eat cookies, so I'm selling his cookies. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, if you want, I was gonna give you the mic anyway, but I didn't see it there, so let Jim do it. Yeah, Amber is our vice president, I'll let her run the crowd. Okay, there's a hand, okay, Grace has got something.
So this is a service. My husband's company is Tomam LLC. It's a weird name, but he does, his company has 20 years of doing commercial and residential windows, roofs, and fences and siding. So he knows his stuff. He'll give you a great price, and he'll explain everything and all the warranty and everything. So if anyone needs any kind of thing like that for commercial or residential, please get in touch with me. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sounds like it covers everything outside, windows, roofing, fencing, a lot of exterior needs. Okay, here we go, okay, let me go over here. Give Amber her workout, running across the room today.
Hello, this is Service. My name is Dee. My husband said we're property preservation owners, Clean Pro St. Louis. If you need our services, we do have cards available. We're also franchise cleaning franchise here in the area also. We do commercial buildings, we do office cleaning. So if you guys need cards, we have them available.
So we do clean outs and stuff like that. We're working on government contracts. All the 9 yards, we do it all. When it comes to cleaning and clean out, special cleaning, detail cleaning, we do it. And we do have clients, and we have clientele. And we're bonding and license and all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, yeah, a lot of times we need those kind of services.
Hi, my name's Matt. I am a wholesaler for Faster House. I'm also an investor. So obviously I'm looking for deals, just like everybody else in this room probably. But wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself because I'm also here to meet people. So anybody that's investing at any level, beginner or have been doing it for years, I'm looking to connect with people and see how we can help each other out and with an abundance mindset.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my phone number is 314-800-3828, and I have business cards too. So if you want to connect or link up, just come by the table.
Okay, yeah, we're trying to get contact information.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My number is 314-249-2342 or 314-680-3742. The Winthrop's. Thank you.
Okay, that's for the clean out service. Okay, got a couple more folks over here in the center.
My name is Ryan Schultz. I own a company called Anzac Developments. We rehab properties, commercial and residential. We like bigger stuff, so major rehabs. Like we just lifted a house up the other day. We rebuilt room additions, new construction, you name it, we can do it. So my phone number is 314-922-6612. We also buy a bunch too. We bought a bunch from Faster House as well. I know that knows that really well, but yeah, we'll buy houses from there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Bircher. I am actually a note investor, so a little different strategy than a lot of you have heard of before. But I am right now taking down a pool of assets of distressed mortgages from all around the country, and I am looking for funding partners. So if you are interested in a situation where you're getting a return on your investment, quarterly payouts. It's asset backed, so we've got everything collateralized with the actual assets. I am looking for people to work with. So if you are interested, you can call or text me. My phone number is 314-420-2343. Or you're welcome to schedule a meeting with me. My calendar link is at talkwithjessica.com. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Yeah, we have some note investors in the room, I know that. So, talk to Jessica. Yeah, back to Grace. Yeah, we didn't get the phone number for your husband.
Okay, yeah, so again, if you need, thank you, windows, siding, fencing, or roofing, his name is Matt Reed, R-E-E-D. His number is 314-680-1869, Gesundheit. And I would also say that I do writing, editing, and proofreading, if you're interested in that. So my number, I'm Grace. My number is 314-562-1875. I had to think for them.
Okay. Who's got something else? Oh, yes.
I'm looking for landscapers, so if anybody is familiar with someone that does great work.
Okay. I know a couple guys too, maybe the same ones. I know they've done work past their house before, so. Anyway, okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice? If not, we shall proceed. I think we're all set up for our second speaker here. Okay, our next speaker will be revealing some little known opportunities for us investors right here in St. Louis. There are more than 25,000 vacancies, ranking St. Louis third highest in the country. Along with these outstanding opportunities, there are also some concerns with problem property litigation, title clearance, community education, and technical assistance. He'll be addressing these as well. Here with us tonight, we have the local attorney from the Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. Please welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Peter Hoffman.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Doing good. All right. Some energy in the room. I know it's late. I just want to introduce my colleague, Toni Gillespie Smith. She is a neighborhood resident of the West End neighborhood of the city of St. Louis. She's going to join me up on stage. She's also in the AmeriCorps Vista program, so she's going to join me up on stage to talk about some opportunities in the West End, some work she's been doing in that neighborhood specifically. I'm going to paint in much more broad strokes to talk about vacancy in the city of St. Louis. As Lloyd mentioned, he kind of stole my thunder. I would usually like to ask the crowd how many vacant properties are there in the city of St. Louis. As he said, there's over 25,000, making us the third highest per capita in the country. It is a significant problem for everyone. For the people who live near those properties, having to deal with code violations, walls collapsing. It's a problem for the person that lives down the street. That property's demolished and the lead and the asbestos goes into their air and their children have to walk by on the way to the bus stop to go to school every day, these vacant and abandoned properties. There are increasingly studies that show correlations between increased heart rate when somebody walks by a vacant and abandoned property. There's all these physical and mental health implications of living near vacancy. But the contrast is also true. So there was a study in the city of Philadelphia that talked about remediation of vacant and abandoned properties, both buildings and lots. And remediation of vacant and abandoned properties in that city led to a 40% reduction in gun crime. So there are some real physical implications of vacant and abandoned property that kind of reverberate throughout the neighborhood. We know in the city of St. Louis, here's a map. It's a little dated at this point, but I think you get the drift. There's actually two colors of dots here. There's an orange and a red. You kind of lose it in the light. But each of these represents a vacant parcel of land, either a vacant building or a vacant lot. Overwhelmingly, these properties are located north of Delmar. These are neighborhoods that are primarily low-income census tracts, communities of color. The same can be said for southeast quadrant of the city of St. Louis. You can see kind of a higher concentration. This is around neighborhoods like Dutchtown, Gravois Park, Marine Villa. So of course the people who live near these little red and orange dots bear the brunt of all of the problems of vacancy. All those parade of terribles I just listed a minute ago. So it disproportionately impacts our, community members who live in these neighborhoods affected by vacancy. But it affects all of us. It's an expensive problem. These buildings catch fire. They need to be boarded up. They need to be secured. They need to be demoed. That all comes at our expense. It comes at taxpayer expense, especially if you're living in the city of St. Louis. These numbers are a little bit dated. These numbers are actually significantly higher now. I think they're over double, but these are numbers for what the forestry department in the city of St. Louis spends on cutting vacant lots. This is a figure for demolition. That number is significantly higher too, and there's more of that being spent. The other problem with vacant and abandoned property is they're often not producing tax revenue. So all of these expenses, the fire calls, the police calls, the service calls, the grass cutting, the demo, the board ups, all that has to be done while a property is not generating the tax revenue to pay for it. So it's an expensive problem. As I say here, vacancy is contagious. One property goes vacant on a block, there's a greater likelihood that other properties on that block will also become vacant. Again, the converse is true. So if redevelopment happens, if you all make an investment, that neighbor across the street might say, well, you know what? Maybe it's worth putting on that new porch or repaving my driveway and investing in my property. So investment begets other investment. So it's an incredibly important issue for our city to be able to tackle. And you all, along with neighborhoods, have a unique opportunity to partner to do this. And the legal system gives you some tools to do that. These are some real headlines. These are clipped from the Post-Dispatch, from St. Louis Public Radio, about buildings collapsing on people, putting people out of homes, catching fire. It's almost a daily occurrence at this point. You open your app on your phone and look at the news because nobody gets the newspaper anymore, but to read a headline like this. Legal Services of Eastern Missouri is a nonprofit legal provider. By show of hands, how many of you are familiar with Legal Services of Eastern Missouri? A couple of you? Okay, not too surprising. So we are the largest nonprofit provider of free civil legal assistance. We don't do any criminal cases, so we're not fixing people's parking tickets for them. We don't handle criminal cases, that's the public defender. But on the civil side, basically anybody who can't afford a lawyer, they can contact Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. We have about a dozen different units that specialize in all kinds of poverty law related topics. So we help the victims of domestic violence get orders of protection. We help people access the social safety net, access public benefits. We have a unit that specializes in representing consumers who have been ripped off in one way or the other. We have a program that represents tenants in eviction cases. Pretty much any type of civil legal assistance, if somebody can't afford a lawyer, they should call Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. You can find more on our website about all the different types of services we can provide. That's www.lsem.org. My program, the Neighborhood Vacancy Initiative, has been around 5 years. We are a little bit different than the other programs at Legal Services. Most of the legal services programs represent individual clients, single persons, sometimes couples, but mainly single persons. My program is a little bit different in that we represent groups of people, and we represent certain types of groups of people. Neighborhood associations, CDCs, what we call in the community development world, place-based community corporations, community development corporations, place-based neighborhoods. So sometimes they're neighborhood associations, sometimes they're CDCs, community development corporations. And we represent those groups to use some pretty powerful but often important legal tools that I'm going to get into in just a minute. Our program focuses on both providing legal assistance to neighborhoods. We do some incorporation, some tax exemption work, some corporate governance type work. We do occasionally take some cases to help low-income residents with title issues. Maybe you all have encountered this in doing your work. Somebody's living in a house, but mom died, dad died. They're not on title, which means they can't sell that property, as many of you well know. They can't get a bank loan to fix up that property. They're kind of stuck. They're in legal limbo. Our program helps those families clear up those title issues so they can sell the property if they want to sell the property, stay in the property and get a loan to fix up that property. Whatever they want to do with their family home, it is their right to do it, and often there are legal barriers to doing that. So our program will assist low-income clients to fix those, what are called heirs property type problems in the city of St. Louis. We will also do some estate planning. We hold lots of events throughout the community where we're trying to prevent that issue from happening, drawing beneficiary deeds for low-income homeowners so that they can cleanly pass title on to the next generation. As we know, home ownership is the easiest step towards building wealth, and we've got to do everything we can to make sure that the next generation can take advantage of that. Estate planning is essential in doing that work. And then the main thing we do that I'm going to spend the rest of the time talking about today is problem property litigation. Under Missouri law, place-based community organizations, so neighborhood associations and CDCs, nonprofit groups, have special legal standing to help cure certain types of problem property issues. So I'm talking about properties that are vacant, properties that are a nuisance, properties that have been cited by the city of St. Louis for building code violations, many times, and nothing ever seems to happen. Well, the neighborhoods have a special legal tool that we help them use to try to get those properties put back to productive use. We don't rush to the courthouse. If anybody has been involved in litigation, it is time-consuming, it is hard, it is expensive, it's slow, it's not the first solution. And Tony's going to talk a little bit more about how neighborhoods are reaching out to some absentee property owners. Maybe the owner has passed away, maybe the LLC that owns it is dissolved, maybe it's an LLC out of, halfway across the world and nobody can reach them. The city code enforcement mechanism is not bringing them into housing court. We're not forcing them to make repairs to that property. For all those reasons, property can become problematic, and the code enforcement system that the city uses isn't enough. The fines are too low. They can't pierce the veil. They can't get the individual behind that LLC to do what they're supposed to be doing with that property. There are other legal tools that can help neighborhoods assist in those types of cases. The types of cases we will handle for neighborhoods, again, mainly in the city of St. Louis. We do have a little money to do some work in the county suburb of Wellston, Missouri, but overwhelmingly our work is in the city. Represent neighborhoods in legal actions where the property is privately owned, so not city owned. There are 25,000 vacant properties. The majority of those are not owned by the city of St. Louis. Those are privately owned, abandoned properties. A last resort, we're going to reach out, send a letter. The neighborhood association is going to send a friendly letter. Hey, Mr. Smith. Hey, 123 investor out of Ogden, Utah. What's going on with this house? It's a real problem. There's kids that live next door, and your chimney's going to collapse on the backyard. Code enforcement hasn't resolved the problem. So the neighborhoods will work with the city to try to get a citation, hopefully getting that owner's attention to fix up that property. Tax foreclosure is not imminent. I'm not going to file a lawsuit and run to the courthouse when that property is going up on the courthouse steps for somebody to buy and get a new owner in within the next 3 or 6 months. And then the last one, which is probably most relevant to you all, is a rehab partner has been identified. If the neighborhood association is going to make a claim to title of abandoned property through the court, they need somebody that will partner with them to fix it up. In Missouri, these are the 3 main statutes neighborhoods rely on to compel owners to fix up or move abandoned properties back to market. The first is a nuisance lawsuit. In law school, they teach you your right to use and enjoy your property cannot interfere with somebody else's right to use and enjoy their property. If it does, the law allows for relief and order that owner to fix up that property. It could say that you've hurt that neighbor next door. You've depreciated their property value, and now you have to pay the reduction in their property value for the nuisance conditions caused by your property neglect. If nuisance isn't enough to compel an owner to fix up the property or to sell it or to donate it, there are a couple more powerful arrows in the quiver: receivership and then an expedited receivership called abandonment claims in Missouri. These are only available to community organizations, but what they say is if the property is determined to be a nuisance, so it's in violation of code, and notice has been given to the owner, and they still choose not to fix up that property or act accordingly, the court can actually take control away from that property owner, give it to a third party, or sometimes give it to the neighborhood or the CDC themselves, and allow that third party receiver, is what they're called, to make improvements to the property. Those improvements result in a priority lien over bank liens, and the owner has a certain period of time to come back and compensate that receiver for those nuisance abatement costs. So what neighborhoods are able to do is say, owner, out-of-state owner, dissolved owner, your property is in violation of code. Let's say it's tax delinquent. Let's say it's been vacant for 2 years. The neighborhood's going to take you to court, and they're going to make a claim for control of that property, allowing the neighborhood to partner, maybe with one of you, to make improvements to that property, board it up, cut the grass, pick up the trash, remove the dead animals that have been melted inside of the property. I'm sure you have seen all of these types of terrible conditions. Those improvements are a priority lien. If the owner doesn't come back and reimburse you for that improvement, the court will transfer a title from that absentee owner to the neighborhood association or to that receiver after a period of time. It's not often that these cases, we handle about 60 to 100 of these cases a year. We have a team of 6 attorneys handling them, mainly north of Del Mar, but in some pockets of Southeast City. Overwhelmingly, these cases will settle. We will contact these owners. We will find somebody who's behind the entity, and they'll say, you know what, you're right. I bought a package of properties. I let this one go. I'm just going to go ahead and donate it, or I'm going to tear it down, or I'm going to sell it. There's opportunity there. So now we've just opened up a property to the market. We need somebody who knows how to rehab property to purchase that property. There's a partnership to be had there with the neighborhood association. In very rare circumstances, when the property is truly abandoned and nobody comes forward, there needs to be a legal mechanism to reintroduce that property to the market. And that's what receivership and abandonment are. So sometimes, if nobody responds to that lawsuit, the judge is going to let you go into that property with the neighborhood association. So here's just kind of the pipeline of how kind of a sample case would go. You send your 60-day notice to the owner. Hey, what's going on? Contact us. You got a plan for this? No response. We're filing the suit. We're serving the parties. Everybody's got to go to court now. I got to put on this suit. Motion for entry. We're going to ask the court to go into that property to understand the scope of disrepair. What's wrong with it? What would be the plan needed to bring that property into code compliance? The court sanctions that plan and grants temporary possession either to the receiver or the neighborhood association and their partner to begin implementing that plan. That's the improvement that results in a priority lien. Property is being rehabilitated. Once it's brought into code compliance, you file a motion for a final judgment and order that extinguishes all liens on the property. So those of you that might be familiar with a quiet title action, kind of similar to that. This process clears all liens for property except for tax liens. So if there are delinquent property taxes on that property, your acquisition costs, basically, would be the cost to bring that property into code compliance, and then whatever amounts are due to the city for delinquent property taxes. So it's a way to unlock certain property that have been kept off the market because of this legal blight. The owner can't sell it. They're underwater. Nothing can be done. You've got to get the court involved. This is America. Property rights are protected. Everybody gets their day in court when it comes to people's property rights. But the legal process says if you don't make improvements to that property or don't compensate the neighborhood or their rehab partner for the improvements, the court's going to transfer title and extinguish your interest. Yes, you bank. Yes, you owner. Yes, you lien holders. Not you, City of St. Louis tax collector, but everybody else. And so we're able to clear title to these vacant and abandoned properties as we move through the process. We work with about 15 different neighborhoods throughout the city right now. That kind of fluctuates based on leadership and capacity and all those types of things. Like I said, we're a nonprofit, so our funding fluctuates like other nonprofits. And we know we're not going to be able to litigate our way out of 12,000 abandoned properties. It's too big of a lift. So we have to be smart when we're using these litigation tools to help neighborhoods address vacancy. And these are just some of the strategies that have been deployed by neighborhoods. Some have focused, and I'll let Tony talk more about this in just a second, and I'll shut up. Model blocks. So is there a way to focus these litigation tools on a block that has maybe a lot of potential, but also a lot of vacant and abandoned properties? Can we bring in 5, 6, 7 rehab partners to start creating some churn, starting to create a housing market in a neighborhood that maybe doesn't quite have the strongest housing market? Is there a way to focus around maybe a community asset? So I could tell you there's a flyer that's going around with a lot of different addresses on them. Some of them are parts of various approaches here, but in Hyde Park, for instance, they're focusing on development along their commercial corridor. So this is an area where people frequently drive by. It's right around Hyde Park, which is a historic park in North St. Louis City. It's an asset to the community. How do we protect that asset? How do we reduce vacancy around schools where children have to walk by every day? That's the community asset approach to a litigation strategy. Is there a high visibility property? Man, 123 Fake Street has been sitting on the top of the hill deteriorating for the last 20 years, and the entire neighborhood is tired of it. How do we do something about it? That's a high visibility property. Is there a bad actor? Do we have an owner in our neighborhood that owns dozens and dozens, or even a dozen, abandoned properties and isn't doing anything? We've tried reaching out. We've tried sending letters. We've tried contacting the city. They're stuck. We need to get a little more aggressive in our court action. Opportunities for community partners. And this is one that I hope will get your ears to perk up. Neighborhoods know what their priorities are, and they know what their problem properties are. But you all as investors know the market. And you all being able to drive that neighborhood with those neighborhood leaders and say, yeah, it's going to be hard for me to make the numbers work on 123 Fake Street, but if we're adding in 5, 6, 7 Fake Street and 9, 10, 11 Fake Street with 123 Fake Street, well, maybe we can get something going with those 3. You all know the market, and every neighborhood that we work with wants to have that give and take. They know they need investment in these vacant and abandoned properties, and they know that there's more than enough work to go around. So let's come to the table together and come up with a strategy that helps get rid of these vacant properties in these neighborhoods. Rehabbers, what are they looking for? So again, I'm going to turn this over to Tony in just a second to talk more about the West End, what they do to vet rehabbers and kind of match projects with real estate investors. But these are generally the things that we're outlining in an agreement with the neighborhood. Do you have the experience? Have you done projects like this before? Do you have access to capital? Where is that finance guy at? I might want to get his part. Do you have access to capital to do the project? Are you a flipper or are you a homesteader? Do you want to fix it up and live in it? Every neighborhood has different priorities, different hopes, but it's always a discussion. And then draw an MOU outlining those expectations. So if a neighborhood association is going to use its special powers under Missouri law to acquire a vacant and abandoned property, and they're going to essentially give it over to you to develop as a project, you can't buy it because it's locked off market for this legal blight. There needs to be some meeting of the minds between the neighborhood and the developer. An MOU is a good way to do that. So what are the expectations? Are you going to adhere to historic rehabilitation standards? Are you going to develop this as a rental, as affordable housing? Are you going to install high-speed internet? What are you gonna do to make sure the facade is beautified and there's, flower pots, it's well-maintained, it helps attract people to the neighborhood. All of these details are negotiated on a case-by-case basis with the rehab partner, with the neighborhood association. I mentioned we represent about 15 neighborhoods right now. In 5 of those neighborhoods, West End, Academy, Sherman Park, Old North St. Louis, Hyde Park, and actually Lewis Place, Fountain Park is the 5th that I don't know if made the map or not. It's these highlighted neighborhoods here. Here's Del Mar. In these neighborhoods, we have dedicated pro bono support from some of the biggest law firms in St. Louis to help us move these cases forward. I can handle 20, 30, 40 cases a year. The attorney next to me at Legal Services can handle 20, 30, 40 cases a year. A giant skyscraper of attorneys can handle many, many more than that. So over the last couple of years, we've worked with Brian Cave, Leighton Paisner, Hush Blackwell, Thompson Coburn, Stinson, and now Lewis Rice to expand the footprint of our work through pro bono partnership. And we've had some great success. And I'll talk more about our success in a bit. But first I want to turn it over to Toni Gillespie-Smith to talk about the West End, and she can talk about some of her success in doing the work that she does.
Thank you. Like Peter said, my name is Toni Smith, and I live in the West End neighborhood, not the central West End, the West End neighborhood, which is 2 blocks north of Del Mar. How many people have heard about the Del Mar divide? That term? Okay, so you're all familiar, so you know the houses just south of me are worth significantly more than where I live, even though in my neighborhood we have our houses are just the same size, have historic value, and we sit on larger lots. We actually have like large backyards, but because of the history and practices in the past, they're severely devalued. So like I said, I've been there for 16 years, my family, and when we moved to the West End, we thought, okay, it's the up-and-coming neighborhood. We moved from University City, which we had been there for 6 years. But I think if you think about like what happened about 16 years ago, 2007, 2008, the housing bubble and all that, so that really hurt the neighborhood. We're kind of stagnated all the growth that we thought that we were about to see, because there were a lot of different developments happening around the West End when we thought that the West End is surely going to be next up. But then that happened, so it's just been a slower process to get our neighborhood to where we want it to be. So about 5 years ago, I'm fortunate that I'm in a situation with my husband that I don't have to work, this is work, but I was able to leave my job as a branch manager and really focus on improving the neighborhood. So I started attending like classes and webinars and different things like that. It's like, why are some neighborhoods have nice sidewalks, but we don't? How do they make this happen? And as I was researching all this, I was looking at the housing. I said, what can be done about housing? You know, why are the houses in this condition, or what can we do to make them not be in this condition? Because we would talk to some owners that we knew owned the houses, but they were not interested in any way of like doing anything with them. We actually had one owner that he lived in the neighborhood. He actually told us he was gonna burn the house down. So we just like, okay, because I think he was just tired of people asking him, what are you gonna do with this property? He had a dream that he was going to rehab the property someday once he found the right funding and all of that, and then sell the house that he was currently in. It's like, okay, so but the neighborhood is so we're just waiting till you can fulfill that dream. And we have people breaking into the house, and it's becoming more and more, derelict and all that. So we really start working as just neighbors to report all the things that we saw: the high grass, the broken glass, raccoons, foxes. So, this is the city. We have foxes, and then here in the city, but we would see them. Wild turkeys would come over, all kinds of things. So it's like, we have to do something about these situations. And so fortunately, I was able to get on a phone call with Peter Hoffman, who was in Kansas City at the time, and working on reducing vacancy there. And I spoke to him about what he was doing. He gave me some really good advice about starting to report everything that you see, and just keep that up. So hopefully it'll happen here, that we'll be able to use these legal tools here in St. Louis. Because St. Louis, it wasn't available. It was available in other parts of the state, but we just had not adopted it yet. So once those laws got adopted, we knew that we could really get started with this, because with part of the law that stated that if someone was driving your property value down, you could take them to court. No one wanted to do that, because you don't want that focus on you or possible retaliation. But as a neighborhood association, residents, we like that better, because that kind of gives you like the cover. Like, it's not just me that's complaining, it's like the neighborhood association that's trying to uplift the community. So from there, with this map, we separated the neighborhood into zones based on where other people were living that could help out on a volunteer basis to monitor the vacancy, to write everything down and then document it and then monitor it. So I'm down in zone 1. I live, like I said, I'm on the second block there. So my natural driving habits, I drive around this area to come back into the neighborhood and then back out. So it's not taxing for me to leave the neighborhood or to go and look at the different vacancy. And I was able to contact different neighbors in all those sections to do the same thing that I'm doing. So from there, after we started logging all those, we're like, we have to find trusted rehab partners that we want to work with and who want to work with us to help our neighborhood. So we, again, I used to work at a bank, so small business customers would come into the bank all the time and talk to me. And after I left the bank, I just kept some of those contacts. And so just talking to different possible rehab partners, or if you're a plumber, then more likely you know an electrician and you know a contractor, and just building those relationships like that. I've met people at Home Depot and Lowe's. If I'm walking around, I don't know what I'm looking for, people just approach, can I help you? Yes, and then we strike up a conversation, and then I just segue into what I'm doing, for the neighborhood, and just talk to them that way. And then they eventually talk to legal services to see if it'll be something that they will be interested in helping the neighborhood. The best cases to me that we've had is when we send that letter to people and they go ahead and do something about the property. Because like Peter said, a lot of people are out of state. It's out of sight, it's out of mind. It's not affecting their day to day, so they don't really care about what's happening here in St. Louis. To a degree, to really do something about it. Or some people are waiting for WashU to come in and buy a property, and they'll buy it for 3 times worth, what it's worth, and all those things. And in the meantime, our neighborhood is just continuing to decline, and to have to continue to put up with all the problems that vacancy what happens with vacancy. So some of the cases that we really had were other cases we've been working on for 4 years. An apartment building is very difficult to deal with. Yes, these 2 houses here, this person lived in Colorado, and he told me that he understood how I felt, because he got upset when his neighbors had some dandelions in their yard. And we were able to look at his house, big, huge mountain house, mountain views and things like that. I don't think he's related to what we're going through here. And these houses, you see them, they're burnt out and derelict. And now we were able to get them out of his hands and sell them to a local developer who he's finished rehabbing one of them, the one that has the other one that has a green roof to it. And he sold it for $400,000. And then the one directly across the street, he is currently rehabbing that one. And he said that is probably going to be on the market, because of all the different things he's doing to it. It's going to be around, he's going to push for $500,000. So that will really help our comps in the neighborhood, and really just the residents that have been there for a long time to see that property value come back. And they know, and we know, if our house was across the street or 2 blocks south, it would be much more valuable. So that's what we're looking for, is really to find other people that we can work with, and just have a whole list of people that will come into the neighborhood and get these properties back to market. Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know what I think you said you actually had to sell, recent sale properties?
Yes.
In the area?
Yeah, this property here that we're showing, it took us a while to work with him, but he finished it last August or September. And I'm sorry, the rehabber, yeah, our rehab partner.
I'm sorry, how was
It was last September.
And you sold it for how much?
400,000. He listed it for 417, but then sold at $400,000.
Obviously, got more comps. I mean, and so I think you may know that, hey, I'm not gonna make that much money on my first transaction, but if I do 2 or 3 in a concentrated area.
That's right. So, and then, does anyone else have a question? Oh yeah, these are more of them. And a couple of pictures show people going ahead and cutting cutting the grass of these properties, because we found out that you won't get in trouble if you go and you cut someone else's yard, especially if the person hasn't been there. And we have so many properties in the neighborhood where people used to live there, but someone died, and the kids live wherever, and they don't, they're not coming back to St. Louis, and it's just a hassle, or it's not properly deeded, so the house just sits there and further declines. Okay, and so then you may be thinking, okay, I can rehab this property, but what else is going on in the neighborhoods that may help with those comps? And just my area is called the North Central Corridor, and that's from Skinker, Page, Vanderveer, and Delmar. There's about 7 neighborhoods that are included in that area. And right now we have a greenway that's going to be coming into the neighborhood. It's already there. It's called the Holy Mott Tracks. The Green Rivers Greenway is going to turn it into a greenway within the next, they're at the design phase, and I think within the next 3 to 5 years is when they're really going to start building out the greenway. And there's studies that show, and papers and different documents that show houses that are near, I think within 2 miles of a greenway, have shown their property values have gone up. So I thought, well, to me, if I'm a small developer, then getting some property near a greenway would be beneficial, because I know it's more than likely going to increase in value in the future. Then we have what's called the Kingsway development, which is just north of the Central West End. There's going to be luxury apartments on one side, and then performing arts community center on the other side. And that developer just got a $3.2 million grant from the state of Missouri to do streetscape. The other thing, if you've ever heard about the Delmar Maker District, between Union and Kings Highway, that the person behind that is Doug Auer, Jason Johnson, and Jim McKelvey, who does the square, we do the swipes. He's invested in all of that. They're going to be doing a beer garden and several other restaurants, and that's going to be within the next couple of years. So there's opportunity. Yeah, it's on Delmar, and it's in between Union and Kings Highway. Yeah, so the neighborhood is north, and the south side of the street is the Central West End. The north side of the street is Academy, and there's a lot of houses within an academy that need to be rehabbed. And it also has the future greenway within it. And we have a developer who's done 4 houses there, and he can show you if like people that are really like serious and interested in coming in and looking at some of the properties. He can show you the houses themselves, but then also talk to you about the numbers, and so you'll like kind of know like what you're getting yourself into. And what else? Oh, if you know about what's called Launch Code, which is a program that they teach anyone, adults from age like 18 on up how to code. So then you can do that freelance coding. So it says it could be another revenue stream, or if someone is not really interested in going to college or like a 4-year degree, they can learn how to code and they can be and do that on a freelance basis. That's also on Delmar, and they just put $10 million into their building. And so they're not going to be leaving Delmar. They could have easily gone to Cortex. They were heavily courted by Cortex, but they said, no, it's very important for us to stay on Delmar. So they went ahead and invested into that building, and they're going to be a great partner, and it's going to stay. So we have a lot of different things going on within the area. It's going to be changing because we have people that are working really hard to make that change. And there's just so much opportunity for housing and rehab north of Delmar. That why one piece missing, especially for like apartments and 2 families, 4 families, is that trusted rehabber that knows what they're doing, has the funding, and wants to come into the neighborhoods and really work with us to get these properties, back on the tax rolls. And what talk about the vacancy collaborative as a whole?
I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Tony was saying. There are so many great things happening in the city of St. Louis. Tony spotlighted a lot of them along Delmar and in the West End. But across the city, you got UGA up north in the neighborhoods around Old North and Hyde Park, Central Corridor neighborhoods, South City neighborhoods, all kinds of supportive organizations. One supportive organization is the Vacancy Collaborative. You can both volunteer with the St. Louis Vacancy Collaborative. Go to stlvacancy.com. There's some wonderful maps, data around vacancy in our region. There's a map that pulls from various departments at City Hall. It shows where the vacant properties are in the city of St. Louis, who owns them, other information like tax delinquency. The Vacancy Collaborative has also been really helpful in working with the city and sometimes with the state to introduce legislation that will help bring vacant abandoned properties to market. Last year, legislation was passed to approve the city's tax sale system. So the city tax sale system this year is more likely to deliver clean, insurable title to a buyer than ever before because of some revisions to the law that were made this year. And right now, Representative Cohen out of Springfield has introduced a bill that will allow St. Louis County to use a judicial tax sale process, which again better helps the title and would create more land bank over a last resort the properties that won't sell at auction to help work with folks like you all to develop those vacant properties. So some legislation has come out of the Vacancy Collaborative, some data advancements have come out of the Vacancy Collaborative. So even if you don't want to rehab property in partnership with the neighborhood or through a court system, that's not your thing, there are other ways to get involved in helping us reduce vacant property in the city of St. Louis, and stlvacancy.com is another good way to get involved. To sign up for a newsletter, if that's all you want to do, you can do that, or you can dive in with some great materials on greening, improving vacant lots, maintaining vacant lots, all kinds of resources, farm products, everything else that I'll describe. This didn't happen overnight. It's not going to be fixed overnight. It takes sustained effort by all of us as a city, all of us as a region working together to try to make it happen. So,
I was gonna say, I know for the neighborhoods we work with, even though we're focusing on the private side, we also have the city-owned properties, and that could be a strategy. Like if you are working with us and there's some other LRA properties on that block, bring that block back whole, let's concentrate on this and say, do you want, also want to work on these properties too? And where like, I know the neighborhood organizations and it's changing, where there's gonna be more community engagement with the neighborhood associations through the LRA, that if you're helping, working with us, we're gonna help you with that process and help you, hopefully, get those properties. Because the city says they're really gonna start listening to the neighborhood organizations and the residents about, people purchasing properties from the city and just sitting on them. We no longer wanna do that, have a rehab, plan. When are you gonna get to this? And if you're gonna say that you're gonna like do it within like a couple of years, that's reasonable. And so it will, just keep us, in the loop. Not like, if you have a problem that comes up, as long as you're, calling and talking to us and all that, we're gonna be understandable. Or we're gonna understand that if you start a property, you leave a whole bunch of stuff in the yard, and we haven't seen you in 4 or 5 months, okay, I guess this relationship is over. So we're gonna, come back and try to get a hold of you and see if, okay, do we need to go the litigation route? Because we really don't want to have to like litigate. The neighborhood, we really just want the properties fixed and back on the market, and families and back in the houses and the apartments.
I have a number of questions.
There you go, let's have a mic.
First of all, you said, you said you have relationships with the city, of course. Well, I can scream.
Go and shout. You can hear. Jim's got a good voice.
You say you got a relationship with the city, and at some point with these houses, some of them, if you've been in the business of rehabbing properties, you realize at some point it doesn't make sense to put money into the house. Better to tear it down, start over, or whatever. So, the first question I have is, do you have an idea? Is there a general rule of thumb of how much it costs to tear down one of those 2-family or 4-family flats in the city and clear the land? You have a number on that? Because any developer is going to look at that right away and say, wait a minute, this property may not be worth it. It's better just to tear it down, flatten it, and start over, or leave it as a bare piece of land and rehab the one next to it, so I could put driveways in that piece of land there and get off-street parking. That's always a problem in the city,
The question is about cost of demo. The city has more, because of the ARPA dollars, there's more money going to demo than ever before. There's state money going into demo, there's ARPA is the American Rescue.
Well, I was wondering if that, or, take $1 million of the Rams money and throw it at and knock down X amount of them.
They are. I think so. There's a cost, right? So each of those is at least $20,000.
Well, that's the first question I was asking.
Right, and then when they're knocked down, you never get a building like that back again. So I do think there is some caution to make sure that this is absolutely a last resort, because part of what makes St. Louis is our housing staff. And if we have an opportunity to preserve it, I think we want to try to exhaust all options before we look at demo. Just because if you look at parts of North St. Louis City, demo took place there 50 years ago, nothing ever came after it again. So it's expensive to build new too, and sometimes, but you're right, sometimes the property needs to be demolished. The city is trying to do that strategically now. They have more money going into demoing properties.
Do you have any idea how many you demo a year? Or how many are demoed?
We don't demo any, so that would be a city of St.
City?
It depends on the alderman, they are in charge of like the demolitions. I know how we were doing it in the West End. We had certain, we looked at less than 100 from vacant lots on 16 properties and on like the city. So there's this other program called Property X, and we've submitted all of them to be analyzed by the Property X team to see if they were not interested in rehabbing it, then let's look at, it's so far gone that it needs to be demolished, it needs to be constructed first. Because there's some architectural items in the building that you can, that can be pulled out of the building before you just like flat. But maybe because you are professionals, we'll listen to you, and that's something else that we like to do, is when we enter a property, we wanna go there with you, because we're trying to educate ourselves, and then we can also tell other residents, so that's like why this house can't be saved, or why is it best to go ahead and take down a building. But certainly if someone is living next to a building that's falling down, we don't want the building fall down, this is save it. So, and they're, they've gone through it enough. So let's go ahead and take it down, and then, but what's the plan after you're gonna take it down?
Well, my personal opinion is there's nothing wrong with having one that's looking great, a flat piece of land, another one that's looking great, and another piece of flat land. And you could have driveways going up, everybody could park off the street, and that wouldn't look bad. You go up and down the street and see that. Still got a lot of houses, but yet you have people that can get off-street parking, and you got rid of some of the bad-looking houses. Just a thought.
Yeah, I personally don't like street parking. I'm always like, if you have an apartment building, and you can have a parking, lot next to it for people to not park on the street, to me it's a convenience, so yeah, definitely.
First time you get plowed in, you'll say you don't like on-street parking.
No, I have a garage. So,
Yeah, well,
so I want to have, dedicated parking. And when I lived in an apartment, I only lived in an apartment building that had dedicated parking. So I know like people, we have an apartment and we built a driveway for people, a parking lot, and there's still people that park in front of the building. It's like, why are they parking in front on the street when it's much safer and like inside? But for whatever reason, they just prefer to park, along the street and in front of the building.
So we gotta think about how difficult it is. So you look at a block, there's dozens and dozens of parcels there with dozens and dozens of different owners. And some of the buildings are salvageable, some of them aren't. Some of them you can acquire the property to put a side lot in those parcels, others you can't. So when it comes down to actually doing that development, you really, like in Tony's neighborhood, need to go parcel by parcel by parcel and start doing that planning. And that takes boots on the ground. The neighborhoods are out there doing that work, trying to bring in those city resources to stabilize and demolish properties.
Okay, hold on a minute, get a mic up here, we're gonna take some questions.
So I was assuming like this is part of like, you're out looking for rehabbers to do a little bit more of this. Are there any other strategies that you have to find rehabbers for that area? Because I've actually been looking into like the West End specifically, and I see the comps. There's like when people put money into those old historic homes, they're going 3-bed, 2 baths are going for $265,000. Like I saw one just in September doing that. So I guess what other strategies are you using to get developers? Because we've looked into it and we actually have one that's a rehab right now that we're about to sell in there, in that area. But I guess what are you doing outside of this to bring other rehabbers to develop it, especially with getting the word out with the new developments coming? Because I didn't know that, I didn't know about any of that.
Yeah, well, looking like the revenue from find rehabbers, I always ask, the rehabber is interested in it, someone that might continue to have them call. I'm also a big believer, if I drive around the neighborhood, walk around the neighborhood, if I see someone rehabbing a property, I'll just get out my car and introduce myself, and strike up a conversation, and then, after about, how's the rehab going, and when it's finished, then segue that conversation with the vacancy, that we're looking for more people. And I refer to other neighborhoods to do that as well.
Yeah.
But I think in some other neighborhoods we'll also look at the data. So who's pulling permits?
Right.
Who's doing the work? And can we do some targeted outreach to see if those people want to take on other projects too? But it's always about, that's why we're here. Finding good quality rehabbers that know how to put houses back together, know what the numbers are for that market, and make those numbers work. It's always a bottleneck.
Okay, and honestly, kind of selfishly, like, we have a couple that are right in that area. Like I said, the numbers make sense, they're going for $40,000 to $50,000 with $100,000 in them, they'll sell for, $250 or whatever it is. Do you all have, can I get your contact information after this to maybe get connected with those rehabbers?
Yes, there's a flyer, so there's neighborhood vacancy initiative brochure on all the tables. If not, I can get you more of those, we may have ran out. 877-830-42568-778 is our hotline. But yeah, we have properties that are looking for rehab partners right now.
Yeah.
So those flyers are out there.
And I think that's what was the main reason why we wanted to have you here, you wanted to be here, to put the connections together here, because we got a lot of people that can do this kind of rehabs.
I don't know if this really applies to you all, but I would hear my daughter was telling me about her friend that about the dollar houses. Do you all know, is the city still doing that? Or if
That is going away, has gone away, but there's a new process that the LRA has come up with. You can still bid on the different homes. They just opened it up, I think like last week, so they have to review and move the process over. But I know like the motor-owned program is going away, the other things going away. The garden lease program, is going away, but you, right now they have the same bidding process as before, but they are gonna be doing that. But yeah, definitely it's not gonna, one property is gonna go for $1. Anymore. But yeah, but there you go, it's definitely like the bids are open, you can submit like wherever you want to, and then they'll counter back and forth.
They're all reasonable. I think the dollar thing was kind of a gimmick anyway, right? We know that it's hard to make the numbers work on those properties. Because for a property to go into the LRA inventory, it's already gone through the tax sale system. So it's already been offered up to the market. The market has said no. So those are very tough properties. The tax sale system should, starting this year, do a better job of clearing some of the titles. Not every title is going to be insurable, but you should know that it is an improved legal process because of some statutory changes. So the tax sale, where I know people have been cautious to jump into that, in the city, there's now make it a little bit more safe on the investor. Consults an attorney.
Yeah, question. Just curious. I'm a investor in Illinois, over in Illinois. These areas that you're speaking of, what is the crime rate level are in these areas? I mean, as a cautious investor, I need to know my money's safe. So.
Well, I don't know the numbers, but we can get those numbers to you. But I know like
I mean, you live in that. You live in these areas. So.
Like I know like we have like each month go to the West End Neighbors Association meeting, and either our captain or another community officer comes and talks to us and tells about like the general crime reports. And I know the West End and that whole corridor crime is down year over year.
So your area that you live in, relatively safe?
Yes.
I think generally too, the perception of crime is versus the reality of crime. So, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening in the city that doesn't get the news, but if it bleeds, it leads. We hear lots of stories about, violence happening in the streets and.
Yeah, I watch the news regularly, like every day.
I know.
Get homicide with the report.
Right,
but I don't necessarily know all the dynamics of Missouri, so I just hear it, and then it's.
Yeah, no, I think it gets a bad reputation for
Okay.
that. I mean, I've worked in urban neighborhoods for the last 12 years in both the urban core of Kansas City and now the urban core of St. Louis, and I don't think I've ever witnessed or been a victim of crime or had staff that have been victims of crime.
So you feel relatively safe walking your neighborhood?
I feel very safe, especially now, like within the last 5 years.
Okay.
Because my block has 50 structures, 49 houses, and 1 apartment building. When we first moved in, there were 22 houses that were empty, and now we're just down to 8 that are
form of rehab.
Chicken and the egg, right? So we invest in property and drive crime down, or do we try to police and encourage people to invest? I don't know. But it seems to be working to bring investment into the West End, it also results in a reduction in crime. That Philadelphia study I alluded to earlier, also, I think bears that out. Investment in property, abatement of code violations, addressing those public health and safety concerns can help reduce crime. You get people who are there in the houses, they can call the police, they can engage residents, they can report suspicious behavior. You know, if there's a vacant house there, there's nobody there to do that, to be the neighbor, to be the community member, to engage with police on those issues. So getting people in houses is, I think, an important strategy to reduce crime.
It's got two buttons, I get confused. Have you given any thought about working with the tax people and tell them, hey, bottom line is, you're not getting taxes on this, but we can sell it for a real low price, even the joke about it, the dollar, because it goes on the tax rolls right there and the taxes come up right away, and make that part of the deal with the rehabber. Say yes to that, that's the answer I want. And I've been through that myself and got told, no, they will budge on taxes, and I'm going, how stupid is that? But I didn't say that.
So the city can't reduce taxes. Those are, you know, death and taxes, right? So the city has no legal authority to negotiate or reduce taxes in any way.
Under what authority do they collect taxes in? Because now we don't have to pay it, it's what you just told me. If you can't lower them, then where do they get the right to increase them?
Through the Constitution and the revised statutes.
Then you need to change that, because it's dumb.
Property tax, I think that's beyond the scope of our presentation.
You want your neighborhood fixed? It's right in there.
Property taxes in the city of St. Louis, especially in disinvested neighborhoods, are pretty low. So I don't think that has ever been a barrier. In any of the cases that I've worked on where somebody says the tax bill is too high. Now, if you're looking at other neighborhoods like Shaw and Tower Grove, yeah, those taxes are very high.
You don't have that problem there, so moot point. I would like the lady's name and phone number, because I want to talk to you. I got an idea for you.
Tony, T-O-N-N-I-E, Smith, S-M-I-T-H.
What's that last one?
Smith, S-M-I-T-H.
Oh. And your phone number?
314-704-5285. And no one likes to pay taxes, but it's necessary. That's how we pay for city services. That's where schools.
Totally agree with you, and I'd like paying taxes. I'm the weird guy. But when you're getting zero, anything's more.
Right. So, but yeah, that's definitely like something the city or state structure that can be looked at.
You may have answered some of this, maybe I missed it, but I'm just curious logistically how this works. So with your example of the house at number 12 Faith Street, and you got an absentee landowner and nothing's happening with it, and you try and get some movement there, was it like condemnation thing? Do you take title to it and then sell it, or you try and find a rehabber and they buy it from him, or they buy it from you, or the city takes title and he buys it from the city? How does that work logistically?
Good question. No city involvement at all. So we're a nonprofit, our clients are nonprofits, neighborhoods are nonprofits. These are special tools authorized for nonprofits to use. The notice usually goes out first. So, hey, this is a problem. Maybe a soft letter from the neighborhood association saying, just contact us, tell us what you're doing here. If nothing happens, I will open a case at that point. At that point, I represent the neighborhood, and I'm gonna send what's called a statutory notice letter. It's a 60-day notice letter. It says, if you don't abate these code violations or contact with my client with a plan to do that, we're gonna take you to court after 60 days. If there's still no compliance, we file suit against that property. We serve everybody who has a legal interest in that property, so the owner and any lien holders, they have an opportunity to file an answer in that. But at that point, I'm gonna ask the court for an entry into the property to come up with a rehab plan. That is usually, the ownership is all the same, no ownership has changed. The court is just letting you go into that property to come up with a plan to abate the nuisance conditions. So that's entry. That's usually the point where the neighborhood association is looking for a partner. Hey, 10 of you come into this property with us. Is this fit your portfolio? Does this fit your business model? Is this something you want to take on? If so, give the neighborhood a proposal. What would be your plan to redevelop that property? Would you turn it into a rental? Would you fix it up and sell it to an owner occupant? How long will it take you? What type of finishes? Present your plan to the neighborhood. The neighborhood can get the court to approve that plan. And at that point, title this entire time remains in the name of the owner. But what is transferred is the right of possession, or the right of legal control. In law school, they teach you that owning property is a bundle of sticks. You have the right to lease it, the right to exclude others, the right to sell it. What the court is granting at that point is taking away that right of control and giving it to the neighborhood and their contractor to say, okay, this plan is approved, go in and make your improvements. Let's say it takes you 60 days, 90 days to bring that property into good compliance. Once you are done, you file a motion for a final judgment and order, which will grant title away from the owners at that point. So once nuisance compliance is happening, the court can authorize a title transfer to the neighborhood association, usually first, and then they transfer it to the rehab partner under their. So there's bite-sized steps in the process, but ownership does not transfer. Basically, the court is allowing you to put a priority lien on that property. And if that priority lien is not satisfied by the time you bring that property to compliance, it will authorize a title transfer.
So that in that scenario, the contractor is protected, they're not gonna end up in a situation where they put the money in.
Right.
And then they lose it.
Correct. I've never had the circumstance, I've probably filed 1,000 of these cases in where somebody's been out the money. The statute expressly protects those investments. So the court has approved this plan, they've approved the rehab, they've approved these expenditures, and if anybody comes forward, say, okay, I've got a legitimate reason, maybe I was in a coma, they have a good reason why they weren't fixing up that property. The court says, yeah, that's a pretty good reason. Sorry, under the law, you still have to compensate the neighborhood and their contractor. So it is a secured investment by the court that kind of will eventually trigger a title transfer.
Thank you.
How y'all doing tonight?
I've had cases move from abandoned property to redevelop in 90 days, and I've had cases that have taken 2 years. So that's the range. It depends. What is an owner going to do? How big is the house? How bad is the project? It can be a very quick process. Sometimes it can be as quick as that.
Yeah, I got a question. For the housing market, the property with Key, when he ran off, I guess, with the tax incentive, if somebody did buy a property in the city of St. Louis, I don't know what part, I know I'm not St. Louis, will they get those tax incentive, or how's that going? Since you're a lawyer, I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. The question was about Paul McKee and his tax incentives.
No, I was asking because all of those properties, I know somebody that he bought the property from, some kind of way they got it back, and now people are going to court. I got a friend that owns the whole block, and that's why I was asking that, and I wanted to ask the young lady, and as well as you, was, I am open, I have a legit company, bonded and everything. If y'all ever need somebody to work with the contractor or it's cleaning out, I got 10 years experience. I would like to change information with you. And this just came across. Do you think a person owning a property in that state will care for more for it than the person that owns it out of state and not having nobody to tend to it?
Yeah, I've got strong opinions on that.
I know we like to work with people that are local, or I'm from Illinois too, so in this area, within this region, if you're in California or Texas, why are you buying property over here? Are you really going to, in terms of rehab? we really like people that are hyper-local or like within, Illinois area, because we know that we can get in contact with you, and then hopefully if you care about this region.
They have the money, right, but sometimes they lack that face to face, and they don't understand the realities of the market either, being halfway across the globe, and the wheels tend to fall off more quickly, in my experience.
This is for you, Tony. Your area is unique for North St. Louis. I would like to tell you about this scenario. Rehabbing a home on a block, a really nice block in the city. The area around could be not so safe or as friendly as your neighborhood, but in observing while rehabbing various types of things that would prompt us into investigating ourselves, looking at who owns a home, because we're seeing different people, different families just for a short period of time, something like that. And then finding out that there's a behind in taxes for at least 3 years in the city. Now, is there a cap on that? Or does that go on past 3 years, or how long? What would you suggest? Okay, because this is a little bit further from your area. It's in the I'm from the Ville. So this is from a real area in North St. Louis. We didn't call all of that North City, but this is North City for real, okay? Natural Ridge, Kings Highway area, that kind of thing. So what would you suggest for a person who's rehabbing and want to be proactive? Okay, because now we're finding out maybe this house is owned by somebody like who might be on the other side of the United States. I don't know, that kind of thing. So for the city of St. Louis, I don't know what that cap is, or how they look at things for back taxes, or how we can further investigate.
Yeah, you talk about the neighbor-owned property. So, the city of St. Louis, yes, after 3 years, it's a judicial sale in the city, which means it goes in front of the judge, which is very different than St. Louis County. A judicial tax sale has lots of benefits I've alluded to before. It helps clear the title. But it takes longer. They have to get it in front of the judge. They've got to serve everybody. The county, that's usually the responsibility of the buyer. In the city of St. Louis, they have eventually started the tax foreclosure process after 3 years of delinquency. So you haven't paid it year 1, you're okay. Year 2, you're okay. Year 3, you didn't pay, okay. Now we're going to start the legal process. That takes another year. That property is usually not sold until the 4th year. And at any point prior to the sale, an owner can come forward, or a lien holder, anybody really, historically, has been able to come forward and pay 1 year of taxes to get that property out of the sale. I mentioned there were some changes to the tax sale law last year. That is no longer true for vacant properties. So in order to pull a vacant property off of the tax sale list, you now need to pay all amounts that are due and owed to the city. And on top of that, if your property is vacant, it will be foreclosed on for back taxes after 1 year of delinquency. So the city is really going to try to push more of those tax delinquent properties to market sooner, so that they're not so deteriorated, so that when they go up for auction, somebody can purchase that property and redevelop it, and it's not so far gone. So the city is trying to put some controls in place when it comes to the tax sale that will help move vacant property to market faster and prevent people from gaming the system by just paying a year's worth of taxes to pull it from the sale. If it's a vacant property, you now need to pay the whole shebang. It's not vacant, there are a different set of rules. 3 years, it stays the same. And the policy reason behind that is you don't want to put somebody out, even if they're a tenant or a homeowner, they can't afford to pay their taxes. That operates different set of rules for the neighborhood properties. You wanna talk about the problem neighbor that owns property?
Yeah, well, on my block, that, I did speak about it, about he was a person that wanted to, said he was gonna like burn the property down. But he also lived, it was 3 doors down from me, and he lived 5 doors down. And so just, talking to him, and after he said that, then I know what I need to do. So, yeah, repeating and calling in the code violations, he would go to court and say he fixed it. I would send in a picture saying, no, he didn't, because it was from a certain angle. So like he would show, he fixed the window, but I would take another picture to show them like the whole thing. So I know with the bill, it's very hard. I know with Julie Allen, how hard she works to try to bring the bill neighborhood back. And I do feel like something like that has to be more comprehensive to develop a full strategy of how we're gonna tackle the problem. We can either be focusing on one block at a time to bring that block back together, and then moving to another area as I go up and then see what else you have going on up there. I'm trying to get like a best recommendation, but then also trying to also trying to get more people involved and really like focus their energy on either going block to block or seeing like what all of the other issues are that we can try to help you solve.
Those neighborhood organizations are important. Those community organizations, and the stronger they can be, and the more the city can do to support neighborhood organizations, they can really be a powerful neighborhood strategy.
Okay, I have a question, but I'm on both sides, the resident and the investor at the same time. So I live north of Delmar in the quote unquote troubled area, but the Urban League call themselves helping us by knocking down a whole block of apartment buildings that they thought was troubled apartment buildings, but they wasn't falling down or anything. So now the dilemma is, what if you are the block? Because now my house is the block. And I have 5 lots that one person owns and they won't do anything. And I've been complaining for 3 years straight to aldermans and the Civil Service Bureau and anybody else that I could possibly talk to about, the trash, the debris, the overgrown trees and all of that. Then when you have children that live right next door to all that, now you have snakes and mice. Now you have people walking through lots, or they dump trash on the lots and then they burn the trash. I guess it's some kids burning the trash. But then I am the block. So how do I have an association or help if I am the block?
What neighborhood is this?
It is King's Voice, but I'm on Euclid and Aldine. You know what they say?
Yes,
I'm the only house.
Yeah, when you said took down the whole apartment, so I was thinking.
That was on Aldine, that they demoed that whole block for no reason.
Right, I think there were, I know like some of the reports were saying that like squatters or other people like over there, so go ahead and
that was their excuse.
Have you, but the Urban League owns it?
No, nobody owns it. And then they don't put it up for you to be able to buy it, to be able to do new construction, because I don't know if they holding it for somebody or what. It's on the LRA, but you can't buy it. When you call, they say it's spoken for.
Okay, so we could look at that particular lot or plots of land, because like I said, with the LRA changing over, how they do their processes and everything, that'll be a good time to, like, we can reach back out to Lance Knuckles and see like exactly what's going on with these properties. So I know where I live, things are better, and just like when you pour something into a cup,
right?
I live close to Delmar, closer to the Stinker Developer area.
Yeah.
Naturally, that area is going to be better. It's going to work redevelop. Which doesn't, do you any good, cause you're like there now and you want change.
Well, I don't mind, I'm an investor over there, all of my property is owned over in my area, I'm starting in my area first before I move to anybody else's to redevelop and to change how my area is. But it's like, if you're the only person on the block, you don't have that backup, because the other people that is on the street next door to mine, well, I'm on Aldine, I'm literally at Aldine in Euclid, literally. So the people that's on Co-Brilliant, they're renters, and it's only 4-family flats. They don't care about what's going on right there. They only renting and they come and go. They go to work and they come home, and that's it.
Do you know the owners of those apartment buildings?
I do, and they don't care either. Nope, they don't care, because they don't have children. They don't have children that's out there playing, or they speed through the streets, or they throw trash down and they go in the sewer, or trash is dumped right by your house. So my value, I live in a pretty big house, what they, they call a something mansion, one of those big 2-story houses that's all big. So my property value is dropping because I live next door to somebody who will not take care of a lot that's overgrown with weeds and trees and, everything else. And then I bought the house next door to me, which I'm gonna have to demo, but then it don't help me because I have a owner that owns 5 lots that's right there around me, and they don't wanna give it up, and then the other person don't wanna give it up, and it's just a lot. You don't cut it, you don't do nothing. And then the aldermans do nothing, so I'm just by myself.
Yeah, lots are hard. I mean, it goes back to being really careful about doing demo, because once it's gone, it doesn't come back, and it creates a whole other set of problems. The vacancy collaborative that I mentioned before is working to try to push the city to designate more funding to vacant lot maintenance with the ARPA and the RAMS money, because the LRA only gets out there and cuts its own lots a couple times a year, and that's not good enough. There needs to be more funding dedicated to lot maintenance. That's a policy decision that has to happen in City Hall. That's a tough situation, I'm sorry to do that.
Hi, have you ever tried to contact WashU to get involved or anything like that?
I have several different projects I work with WashU on. The students have a really great relationship with several different faculty members of WashU. And we had a vacant lot that was at the beginning of my block that had been vacant for 38 years. And we were able to apply for some grant funding. I also serve on the board of St. Louis Artworks, and they wrote a grant to do some art sculptures, and we created a pocket park. So now it looks really nice. It has like a little circular walkway through it. And if we want to use it for like people said they wanted to do like a farmer's market there. So I'm currently like researching how to, have like a small farmer's market. And so, we can, like when we're using it, we can do that. But if it's not in use, it still looks like it's a nice green space. And the best thing is to see like the parents walking down the sidewalk and the little kids always take that alternate route. So, definitely doing things like that will help reduce crime, help reduce vacancy, because it's now it's activated.
I might have another idea.
She's a Washington U instructor, so I'll talk with you afterwards. Where's the next question?
We answered every question in the room.
I can't believe that.
Or they're tired, or everybody's tired.
A little bit about funding partners. Do you have some already, or is that really up to the developer to bring that?
It's helpful if the developer has its own funding sources. There are a few, but hopefully more funding sources specifically for rehab of vacant properties in the city. So one is aimed at buyers. That's called the Gateway Neighborhood Fund. It's basically an appraisal gap product. So, if the property isn't, let's say you put $200,000 into it, it's appraising at only $150,000.
you've got a gap there. They have a second loan product that can be available to the buyer. That's called the Gateway Neighborhood Fund. There's also RISE Community Development has a CDFI, which is a Community Development Financial Institution. It's basically a nonprofit bank, and they have a minority and small business contractor loan fund that has started to fund some smaller rehab projects like single-family homes that we've done throughout the city. There's kind of a push to try to expand that as a funding source. But this gentleman's question earlier, our bottleneck about rehabbers, the other big bottleneck is funding. And I think you all probably know how hard it is to bring funding into some of these projects. But those are two initiatives that are kind of in the early stages, but have room to grow and be a helpful resource.
I have one question that came to mind. When talking about a rehabber having to pay the taxes, get caught up, does that include the taxes and penalties that have accumulated over the years, or just the straight tax base?
Yeah, so the question is, when we say that the abandonment suit clears everything but taxes, does that include penalties, interest, and fees? There's a new statute that actually says it can exclude penalties and interest, but not attorney's fees. So if you acquire a property under abandonment, it's just principal amount of taxes and attorney's fees, no penalties and interest. This is the only exception to waiving penalties, interest, and fees permissible under Missouri law. So any other time, if you're buying a property at the tax auction, you've got to pay those penalty, interest, and fees. If you're buying that property on the open market, penalty, interest, and fees. Abandonment claim is the one exception where those penalties and fees do not apply. Sorry, penalties and interest do not apply.
Okay, here you go, Dwayne. You don't have to pay the penalties. That'll reduce your tax bill.
A little.
Okay. Anybody else?
My question's about your flyer. So what are we looking at there when it says ready now?
So these are properties where the neighborhood has already filed a lawsuit and we've made entry upon the property. We have a court order that says, all right, court is blessing the neighborhood to go in there and find a contractor to put together a plan. Either that, or there are cases where the neighborhood is ready for us to move towards that stage. So these are ones that are getting ready for that. You know, out of the 60 or 100 cases we bring, these are just a few of them on this flyer that are at the stage where they're looking for rehab partners. So if any of you are interested in exploring any of these opportunities, I think we can trademark that, give our office a call and we can go in under that court order, introduce you to the neighborhood association where that particular property is to talk about what maybe a development plan would look like for those on that list.
Thank you.
Do you have a few more of those flyers available
Yeah.
up there? Okay. Okay, just had a question about it, so you can grab one there. Okay, if we don't have any other questions, I want to thank you both for coming tonight. It's been very informative. And I'm sure we got some people that want to have some one-on-one conversations about a house in their neighborhood, so appreciate you staying around.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And anyway, if any board members, if I've missed any announcements in my previous one, is there anything I should talk about? No? Thank you all for coming. See you next month, or on a regular Friday Zoom, and hopefully breakfast in the second Tuesday in March. Okay, take care.